SmackDown.
Yes,
Hello.
most certainly is.
Yep.
And my drink's clogged.
No data. The stream will end short. Oh, okay. There you go. Trimmer. Alright. Anyway. This is about aliens, and like the Tim Burton one, I'm not really gonna say much. I mean, I might say one thing or another, since I know a bit more about aliens and robots, or rather, aliens and Tim Burton. So, yeah. So, this is gonna be another one where I'm here in name only, so you, Ace, talk about robots.
You mean aliens?
Yes, aliens.
Yeah, you said. I heard you say robots.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I keep getting confused with next week's. Yeah, next week's is robots. But this time it's aliens, so you two talk about aliens.
Okay. So about aliens, like we're talking about, anything aliens from movies and shows, and if there's any other topic of aliens we talk about. Who wants to go first? You, Andrew, or me about aliens?
remember the episode of the universe called Alien Faces?
Uh huh.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only thing I could think of in terms of aliens at the moment. So there are at least there's probably like one anime that I remembered from another another race music video someone made. Can't remember the name of the anime, but there were these like little frog creatures.
Right. Okay.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna
But
try.
there's al-
I'm
but
gonna
we can
try
also
pulling up some episodes of the planet. I'm gonna try pulling up the episode
okay.
all about alien faces.
Okay. Yeah. But also about the aliens that I even inserted in the thumbnail. Um, like I'll go ahead and talk about this. Okay, so my turn on this one, for example. Like, well known, probably most well known alien, of course, is Marvin the Martian from Looney Tunes, and that was created by Chuck. Chuck Jones created that character. There's an interesting story about Marvin the Martian. I mean, for those of us who know Electric Dragon slash Electric Dragon 505 slash Animat, and he did and his animation look back of Looney Tunes, talking about the history of Marvin the Martian. But yeah, Marvin the Martian is a well-known alien, and especially in the cartoon realm, um, has had memorable cartoons, and especially most notably the antagonist and opponent of Daffy Duck is Duck Dodgers, and I remember in his roles in movies in the Looney Tunes movies, like most notably like his role in Space Jam as the referee, and and also him being one of the villains in Back in Action. Yeah, where Steve Martin's villain hires Marvin. Yeah, that was pretty good. And I have not seen Space Jam New Legacy yet, but yeah, as we all know, Marvin being heavily involved in the sequel. But I also remember there was a time where Marvin was this close to having a movie of his own, and it was going to be in live action. And that one kid actor from Austin, from Ant Farm, apparently was going to be in the film, but I don't know. I would have been down for a Marvin the Martian sequel because there was a time, at the time, movies like that from Yogi Bear, and we even got, say, Woody the Woodpecker. Yeah, it would have been one of those movies. But and like I heard, like I remember like a Marvin the Martian movie was being planned, and also a Hong Kong Fooey film as well. But yeah, those never came to be, and especially most notably for Marvin the Martian. But yeah, we'll just have to see what comes next, and stuff like that. But that's all I've got on Marvin. So if you were gonna say something else, Andrew, or if I should keep going.
I'm currently trying to find that one homemade music video where someone did a someone did a music video about I don't know what the anime is called, but it has these little green frog people.
Right. Okay.
I did find this other AMV, and the Vital 65.
Okay. Well, I guess I should keep going, but in the thumbnail I made, because again, more of the aliens, like for example, trying to remember. Oh yes, because okay, yeah, and I see what you send.
Another race, AMV.
Huh. And this, yeah, and the thumbnail is because this aired on Cartoon Network, like some cartoon, I guess. But
I'm gonna see if that Ultimate Race AMV.
right. Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and talk about something else of aliens, like most. Okay, so here's one, like most notably, of course, the aliens of Star Trek. Like there's numerous of alien races in Star Trek, from of course the Klingons, the Romulans, the Vulcans, the Ferengi, the Andorians, the Cardassians, the Jem'Hadar, the Remans. I could go on, and especially for the original series, like most notably, at times we got Romulans and Klingons being antagonists of the original series, and when it came to the next generation, you'd had say, it was like every alien, like well known alien race appeared, like from the Klingons, the Ferengi, the Romulans, and the Borg. Most notably, like the Ferengi and the Romulans were the antagonists of Next Generation. The Borg were a little. It was like in third place, I guess. And when it came like say Deep Space Nine, the Cardassians and the Jem'Hadar were the two antagonists. And when it came to Voyager, the Borg most notably were the antagonists. And I can't really think of Enterprise. I don't know, but the rest of Star Trek, like I think as I recall, most notably the Klingons were at one point antagonists in Discovery, and the same thing kind of goes and also in Picard, the Romulans were in season one the antagonists, and even at times like I guess Q, because he a god being, he was an antagonist at times. But
I figured out what the anime is called. It's called Sergeant Frog. Sergeant Frog. That's what these little green alien. That's what these green aliens were called. That's what the anime was.
Aha. Okay.
But DJ with the fire.
All right. Okay, moving on. Then also, then there's the alien races of Star Wars. Plenty of alien races of Star Wars, from Yoda, his species. We've only seen two of them. There was Yoda and Yaddle. Yaddle most notably appearing in the Phantom Menace, and also the Hutts and the Wookiees. What else? The Caminos. The planet Camino, and the Tusken Raiders, the Jawas, the Ewoks, the Gungans. And the Calamaris. Yeah, there's so many, and it's hard. I'm trying my best to remember the name of the alien species, but like there's the species of Greedo. They're the Star Wars versions of lizards, and the Geonosians. Yeah, just there's that. There are those, and some of the others, like the alien species, like of Viceroy New Gunray and Wat Tambor, and the banking clan species. Yeah, but so there's that, and because speaking of Star Wars, and because of Yoda, well, E.T. for example, because E.T. the extraterrestrial, E.T. phone home, and beloved and well-known alien, and one of Spielberg's well-known movies for sure, and E.T., who's accidentally left behind on Earth, and befriends a human family, and eventually he he's reunited with his own kind, and the last words he says to Elliot, "I'll be right here." It's a very emotional and touching film for sure, and again, one of Spielberg's best. And I'll go ahead and mention this. Two other movies that that are like there are two characters that I put in the thumbnail and that are I have not seen. I still haven't seen these two movies. One first one being The Day the Earth Stood Still, and the other Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Now, the Day the Earth Stood Still, which was a science fiction classic and in black and white in the 1950s. There's that, and Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Yeah, uh, that was I could tell like that's a pretty good one, and this was before Alien happened. Of the and how because and talking about Alien, Ridley Scott and such, like Alien changed the way we look at horror at horror sci-fi horror, I should say, and Invasion of the Body Snatchers being one of them. But it wasn't until like a year later when we had Alien that it totally changed the way we look at sci-fi horror. And yeah, and Leonard Nimoy and Jeff Goldblum, who were in Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and I'm trying to I'm trying to remember. Yeah, Donald Sutherland was in the film, and
It's
directed by Philip
another race
Kaufman, well
away.
known for being one of the writers and helping create the story of Raiders of the Lost Ark with George Lucas. And that epic moment where Donald Sutherland's character
It's
you know
another
is
race,
an alien, like because of the body snatchers.
another
Snatched his
race.
body and he's an alien, and yeah, just him pointing and that
Seems
screech he gives, that scream.
and they
Yeah,
haven't the
and
strength. They
trying to
live
see.
around us,
And
but you can't
there's also the Killer
understand.
Clowns from Outer
We
Space.
can
I've not
communicate
seen yet,
with the
and
one willing
a bunch of aliens dress up as
dream.
clowns invading Earth,
No
and
matter how you
turning people into
try,
cotton candy. I
you just
remember like
can't
this
understand
past October
it.
in 2021, that movie was kind of blown up, especially for Spirit Halloween. I do remember that. Then there's also Alf. Everybody remembers Alf. Like, oh gosh, I remember Nostalgia Critic put it at this: an old wrinkly used Muppet. Wow, yeah, wow, Nostalgia Critic slash Doug Walker. But Alf was a puppet, so I've seen little of Alf, of course, and of course I am well familiar with Alf. And Also the alien species from Independence Day. Yeah, I've seen both Independence Day films; they're good, and you know, most notably, of course, yeah, the first one is great, and even though the sequel was okay, it could never top off, of course, the first Independence Day film. Because it was pretty cool because the aliens in that film, their spaceships were just humongous. Um, and then because Welcome to Earth, as Will Smith says, and Randy Quaid blowing up the ship, I'm back, like that famous last line of his before he dies. There's that, and yeah, I forgot I was mentioning a little bit of it. Ridley Scott's Alien, those alien species, um, very scary, and yeah, only the first two Alien films are good. I'm sure that, like, say, the Outside Alien films that he had recently made, I'm sure they're good, and they are canon to the first four Alien films. But yeah, I haven't really seen those, and I've only really seen the second Alien. But as for the first one, not really. But I need to. And the Predator, of course. Well, and as we all know, that infamous crossover between Alien and Predator, we all know that, and the Predator films, and with Arnold facing off against the Predator, and famous lines, "Get to the chopper," and I'm here, kill me. and that predator, that alien species of predator, was just amazing. And Stan Winston being heavily involved in the design and making of Predator and such. Stan Winston. Uh, yeah, and when it came to those crossover, there were two crossover movies of Predator and Alien, and and for a while, like we've been getting other Alien and Predator films, and supposedly we're gonna get another Alien and another Predator film. And then there were those War of the World movies. I believe one from the early '60s and one from 2005, directed by Steven Spielberg, starring Tom Cruise. Now, I've not really seen the original, but I have seen the remake. Spielberg directed, and it was good. It was good, and yeah, yeah. Both aliens and their ships are, of course, very different, and basically, because all you have in those two movies is just people running away from aliens. That's about it. But they still have a story to it. Um, and I also can't forget about this Mars Attacks. Based off of those trading cards, and Tim Burton directing the film, and those Martians, and with a big cast of actors in that film, and the Martians, well known for their language, act, 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 act. So that, and we talked. I mean, when Michael and we did the SmackDown of Tim Burton, we talked very much about the aliens, well, about the Martians and Mars Attacks and that. So there you go. Um, and then others that forget to mention, okay, because he's in the thumbnail, Dr. Zoidberg and Futurama. Well, because the alien species in Futurama, like there was Zoidberg species and Leela's. Yeah, Futurama's is definitely I'm a fan of Futurama, and love the show. Another one of Matt Groening's best works, animation works, and it was his second animated show that he created. First being, of course, The Simpsons, and then he would go on to do a fantasy animated series, Disenchantment, on Netflix. And yeah, so like Zoidberg, Dr. Zoidberg. Yeah, I could do a good impression of Zoidberg. And then also, the Ohana means family, Stitch. Yes, can't forget about talking about Stitch. Lilo and Stitch. Lilo and Stitch was definitely one of those rare hand-drawn animated features of the early 2000s that was actually good. It was good, and it did very well. Even because even at the time, most hand-drawn animated films in the early 2000s were not doing so well, and computer animated films were dominating the world of animation at that time. And Lilo and Stitch being one of the rare and good animated films at that time. And we would get the spawn of sequels and a series, which those were all great. Those were all great too, and more of Stitch's cousins, experiments, and the alien race that's in Lilo and Stitch. Yep, and oh boy, I'm trying to think of if there's anything else. Well, I could. This would kind of count, like the squeezed aliens from Toy Story. Those would count. I'm trying to think of what else, but yeah, but that's all I can think of. But is there anything else you wanted to say, Andrew?
Alright.
No.
Then cut. Where? What would I can think? What can I think of off the top of my head that would be alien, aside from another race?
Hmm. Well, I pretty much kind of said all I said all I can think of about aliens, but but that whole subject, of like the possibility there could be life, out there, and we wouldn't just be the only ones. I mean, yeah, I mean, to be 100% honest, we couldn't just be the only ones, that
Yeah.
are here, and there could be life out there, and there could be aliens. So,
Yeah, here's my thoughts on the whole life out there thing.
just him.
Yeah,
Okay, what do you have to say?
if there are aliens out there, and I'm like 99% sure that some form of intelligent life is out there, whether it be because but the only reason that we haven't seen them is A, because they're not really interested in us, or B,
Yeah,
they probably gotten to a point where they destroyed themselves in their kind of World War III scenario, like we almost did in 1983.
yeah.
But
That's kind of like what I heard. Like they just don't care about us. They're not interested whatsoever, and they're just leaving us be.
yeah, I mean, I wanted to talk about that darker theory where, long before they're able to achieve interstellar travel, they just end up destroying themselves.
Hmm.
So that's kind of why.
Yeah.
So I don't really want to believe that, but if that's really the case, then I have no problem believing that. But what I really wanted to talk about is if aliens do exist, I don't think that they would look anything like aliens in movies or TV, probably except for 2001. Because, yeah, like, aliens from another world, they don't have the concept of like hearts. They like animals on here, like on this planet, they have eyes, they have hearts, they have a skin. Like they may have an exoskeleton or some kind of skeleton. Like at least they have these very basic things. They may have multiple of them, or they might have none of them, but they still kind of have them. At least they're aware that they know they exist. Aliens, they're very different. Like, I think that would. I think we can't really imagine what an alien would really look like. So that's my thing. We can't really imagine what an alien would actually look like. Let alone a race of aliens that are more advanced than us. Like, we might be able to imagine bacteria, but some bacteria kind of thing, but not really nothing beyond that. Anything beyond that.
Now I'm thinking of the documentary that involved a fictional planet called Darwin 4. I'm trying to remember what that documentary was called. Oh, I don't know. What was Darwin 4? What's Darwin 4? Alien Planet. That's the documentary, Alien Planet. Anyone familiar with the documentary Alien Planet?
Unfortunately, not.
Hmm. Well, here's a small little tribute video that made me discover the documentary.
looking for that video you posted, Ace, it's kind of interesting how they kind of look like dinosaurs. Since in our own history, dinosaurs were once the dominant species, so I assume that this planet is much later, like much less developed in terms of life. So so it's pretty good to assume that they might look like dinosaurs somehow. But it's kind of weird how they still have something like eyes. They have some kind of, leg system. I mean, they might evolve differently, but I don't know. Like, maybe the evolutionary characteristics of that planet are kind of universal to ours. So, but that's my point. We don't really know. Like, we do know that, of course, the elements that we find on Earth are universal. We know that, but I don't know if we can really say whether aliens would evolve the same way. It's like evolve the same way. Evolution is a universal principle, but I don't know if they would evolve something like eyes like we know, or legs like we know. I mean, they could probably, evolve some kind of muscle, but it would look very different from our muscles that we know here.
It's not terrestrial.
So, Eli, you want to go on?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Because
what are your thoughts?
My thoughts on what? On what now?
On what we said.
Well, I mean, I don't know, because I know I had my mic off, but like, give me something that I can say. Like, give me one thing that you were saying, so I can see what I can say.
So what I was saying was, if we do find alien life, it's going to look very different from our own life on Earth. And I'm not talking about, like, how different animals on here, on Earth, look. I'm talking about something that we're not even capable of imagining.
Yeah.
Because they would evolve very differently. Like, the very basics of life there are very different. Like, 90% or something of our DNA, of all organisms on Earth, at least all animals, are the same. Like, they're ultimately from the same basic DNA code. So,
yeah.
And with a different DNA code, if we can even call it DNA, on a different planet, it would look very different. Like, you wouldn't be able, like, the eyes would look different. If they even have something like eyes, maybe they see through their skin or whatever. Like, or hell, muscles would look very different. Maybe they actually push instead of, how muscles just pull, like on our world.
Yeah.
So, what I'm trying to say is,
I think I know a good idea.
What?
I'm trying to remember who initially started this. Was it? I think it was Trade the Explainer. Trade the Explainer. Alien life.
We'll see.
Well, my comment on
scientifically plausible alien.
Saying, like, I don't know. It could happen. It could possibly very well be, happen and such, and we discover.
Okay, so maybe it's Benji Thomas. Speculative Aliens of Wallace 2. That's it. I think we should all sit back and take a look at all the amazing aliens from this speculative world.
That is actually a pretty good idea. Eli, can you screen share that video?
Oh, you want me to screen share it?
Yeah.
Which one? The one that he now just sent?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one I now just sent.
The reason I can't screen share this is because on Linux, screen sharing audio on Linux isn't supported.
So, this one, Speculative Aliens of Wallace 2, Part 1, is that it?
Yep, exactly.
Alright, let me get the video pulled up, and then I will screen share it.
Yeah.
Oh, we're not really going to play the whole thing, are we? It's over 39 minutes, 17 seconds.
I mean, if something looks boring, we'll skip through it.
I mean, Yeah, I mean, we'll see what goes on, and besides, we have been talking, and what I've been talking about aliens, but all right, well, for right now, as of right now, what's going on, and as you guys are watching, we will be playing this, so.
Correct.
All right, so hold on, I'm gonna screen share this. Hold on.
Speculative life of Wallace, the speculative aliens of Wallace 2.
All right.
Let's
Can you
see.
guys see good?
Yeah, we can see pretty well.
Landscape, is it landscape?
Correct. It is.
All right. Let me know how the volume is. Let me know how the sound is right as I play it.
Far away in the distant reaches of our
Excellent.
galaxy, there's a small rocky planet
Sound
orbiting a
good?
G-type main sequence star.
Good.
This planet
Alright,
has
here we
3
go.
natural satellites and makes a complete circuit around its star once every 430 Earth days. And 300 million years ago, a remarkable sequence of events was set into motion on this remote world. Now it's been found that this unique planet is home to an incredibly diverse range of alien organisms. Fragmentary fossils found in the ancient rocks of this world have allowed
Picture from it's like a
us to
claymation something. I don't know.
reconstruct some of the alien
Yeah,
beings
the-
thought to
yeah,
be
the
early
art style
ancestors of the
varies
plant life on
between
Wallace
picture to
2,
picture
conservative
from
basal
in this
organisms.
video.
A stunning
This is a
diversity of life
this
has
is a
emerged in the last 300
community-driven
million
idea.
years, resulting in the
Yeah,
extraordinary range of current inhabitants reported
there's
to
even a
live there now.
Wiki page.
It's
in the
taken our
description
human
of this
astrobiologists
video.
a long time to piece
Basically
together an idea of how the
details
Wallace 2 aliens are all related to one
all
another,
the
due to the apparent
aliens that
vastly
the
distinct
fan- that
morphologies
this
they
fan
display.
base
But
has
after a
created,
significant period of observation,
Ben
exploration,
Thomas's
and
fan
analysis
base
of the
has
planet's many
created.
ecosystems and indigenous life forms, I'm pleased to present to you the latest research into
I
Wallace
should
2's
I shouldn't actually call it
This is weird and interesting.
Educators, I should say, is what they are. They're educators.
Yeah.
That one I just saw because of with wings. It looks like half a winged creature with that's a hammerhead shark.
Well, there's probably gonna be some similar. There's probably gonna be creatures similar to that here. There's even a flying fish in the thumbnail. There's even a flying fish in the thumbnail.
Mm.
There's a flying fish. We can't do anything. But the one-way brain. No matter how you try. You just can't understand
Our researchers' latest discoveries, introducing the various main groups and lineages of
another
organisms.
race, another race. It's another race away, away. It's another race from outer space. It's another race away.
Of all lineages we've studied on this planet, aliens known as ambulospeculates. The few fossils we have of the ambulospeculates from 300 million years ago, a period known as the Tenarian during the Proterozoic era, show that these organisms were quite small, 8-limbed beings with an extensive bony exoskeleton. The exceptionally precise state of the fossils have even allowed our planetary paleontologists to identify 3 proboscises, a feature shared by all known early dispeculates from around this time. The ambulospeculates appear to have been the first of the dispeculates to make the transition onto land, joining the various polyspeculates lineages that had already colonized this new environment. As such, the ambulospeculates had a great deal of time to quickly diversify and occupy a huge variety of new niches, resulting in the incredible number of groups of modern ambulospeculates on Wallace 2 today. Thanks to the efforts of our brave and dedicated astrobiologists, particularly Yellow Panda 2001, we can now present to you and morphologically studying evolutionary biology with this comprehensive overview between all the ambulospeculates currently known to science. As you can see, 2 main groupings have been recognized by researchers within ambulospeculates, and we'll begin our examination of this group by looking at one of the more basal clades within this main division. Alcyon euvermia contains quite a few members, the most basal of which is the coral worm, Calivus, a curious organism that has left the terrestrial habitats of its ancestry to inhabit the Wallacian groves in the shallow seas surrounding the southern archipelago. Other vastly different related members of the southern archipelago of Media Insula. The coral worm possesses a characteristic mane of feature also being found in many of the other members of Alcyon euvermia. Some more derived members of this clade include the crowned ice beast, Diadermatus glacis bestia, and the Derpyso. The Diperson seems to have independently lost any hairy integument, However, the cold-adapted ice beast has a thick layer of hairs to aid in retaining heat. Something else worth noting, indeed something of a common trend in many different groups of Polation aliens, is the astral bony exoskeleton.
Looks like a woolly mammoth.
Those some external bones do remain in species.
There's
Like, what the
yeah,
heck do you make of this one?
The related
Yeah.
They're made to be a little familiar, but not completely.
Oh, they take advantage of the idea of an exoskeleton and actually scale that up, while on our world, most big organisms actually have a proper skeleton. So, it's pretty interesting to see what that would imply about this planet.
This family of organisms is arboreal too, in addition to displaying behaviors suggesting they're relatively intelligent and highly social, and they have developed prehensile proboscises to help them climb through the bone trees of the planet. Next, we come to Celestiplura, another very diverse clade in the Anglo-Speculates. The more basal subgrouping within Celestiplura includes organisms such as Trochoditis segmentia, Lincatopleura imperator, and Rematurgi, all taxa that have retained a lot of their bony exoskeleton and become highly segmented, extending the number of their limbs in the case of the closely related
Speculative
Rematurgi and
evolution
Lincatopleura. The giant Rematurgi of Tenebris are a particularly impressive sight to behold, growing up to 20 meters long in some species. Studies of their genetics and ontogeny have revealed that from the age of about 3 Wallace years onwards, these aliens start adding new body segments with limbs, allowing older individuals to grow to the massive sizes they get to. More derived members of Celestiplura are quite different in overall morphology to these organisms, however. For example, there's the Hoplotarx genus, which has fused the two back pairs of limbs and
Alien planets.
Okay, that's a freaking dinosaur right there. There.
Yeah.
As well as the closely related Borum and San
Kind of tail. So.
which have also Sabulia
I feel like I've seen something like that.
some evidence of this.
Yeah, I think what this is trying to imply is that it has a similar sort of... This planet, it has a similar sort of evolutionary history to Earth, but obviously the creatures aren't completely familiar. Like, but it still has a similar sort of evolutionary history.
Right.
So, yeah.
This is another example of whether in this case the anterior and posterior limb pairs have both fused, resulting in total. The fusing in Xenotitan is not as complete as in Pteropodenta, but they are still well suited for the lifestyles they lead, grazing about in shallow waters. It's clear that this limb fusing occurred independently of that in derived Celestiplurs, since the most basal member of Sylvoidea, the highly specialized Silva spicatas, actually has a partial fusing of the anterior pairs of limbs instead, while its posterior limbs have adapted to facilitate a saltatory mode of locomotion. Moving on to another grouping, we come to The members of this clade all retain the ancestral condition of 8 limbs, though in some taxa, such as the symbiotic Edrosconchia genus, the limb pairs have been modified and now function as sorts of mandibles. Something that unites many of the Edrosconchoids is the retention of a great deal of the bony exoskeleton, with defensive purposes. Flagellum cortis, Udu, and the paddle cattle, for example, all have protective bony shells. Edrosconchoids have also secondarily returned to the water, or at least inhabit coastal regions, such as the sandhopper, maca, and the previous. Next, we have Autofonzio, a grouping in which all notables the full 8 limbs of the earliest Ambliospeculates, bony exoskeletons. Autofonzians are still remarkably digging adapted Mantimamus savannae to sang extravagantly crested creature that spends its time searching for tide pools, and the closely related to tide springers, which inhabit coastal regions and use display structures. The Gunnerluck, is another member of this clade, and lives on the beaches and in the insula, both hunting and scavenging whatever they can find. Their rear limbs have become adapted for various functions, it seems, including as sensory apparatus objects for digging into substrate, in addition to cleaning themselves and often eating. Remarkably, they're not just used in the bristles on them actually have microstructures that absorb the male sex cells to the female. The long tails on the well being used as effective self-defense lineages of Ambliospeculates found today on Unopedid. The clade which has gone a quite different route than the others, small in size at the time, converging in many ways. The xenopedans also show a remarkable diversity, and such as Draco-Aranea malivora, a colonial organism that constructs large nests where they farm species of celestophyte for their sweet excretions, as well as proboscis, and ascends away hung to catch prey. Flight is an ancestral feature of all xenopedans, and fly to some extent. The xenopedan known as the tree sap mosquito is another interesting organism, using the elongated bone on the heads to puncture celestophytes and extract nutritious fluids with its proboscis. Closely related to this taxon is the tweezer fly, which also feeds on fluids within celestophytes, holding the flower-like structures found in some celestophytes in place. The specialized proboscises, while feeding onto one of the first diverging lineages from one of the other main ambulance speculated. As this is one of the more basic
My name is Steven.
of another major raid by the number flight continue
Oh, there's an ad playing. There we go.
There are two main subgroups within the Platyhurine.
That looks like something from Pokemon.
The body of a velocitas resembles traits found in birds and insects of Earth.
You thought one of them looked like a Pokemon?
This one right here. This one I'm looking at right now.
Such as segmentation.
Kinda does look like a Zubat.
Respiratory system before of protective exoskeleton as a method to cope with the forces placed towards the body upon impact with prey items.
Yeah.
These plates acting in contaminants.
Now this is the creature that looks like a winged, like hammerhead shark.
Yeah. Now that we think about it, this is what Pokemon would look like if they were more realistic.
Yeah.
Other flight-capable Cadifurinians include Sporovenator Oni, which uses two feathery proboscises to trap spores in the air and feed on them, as well as the closely related Osverse.
I can't even hear this video, but I know you guys can, so.
Tipped with claws and with skin membranes between them to fly.
Yeah. The thing with Discord is that it kinda dampens down the rest of the phone's audio for the sake of Discord audio.
Yeah. Should we let this one?
I think we got enough of the point here.
There's the island endemic Aranea form.
This one.
Yeah, this one. Oh, look at that one. Like, that looks like a freaking ostrich with a. I don't even know what the hell that looks like.
Check out the 6 legs on this guy here.
Yeah, like, is this MLP in an alternative universe?
Cultivate microorganisms which attract small dispeculates that are then in turn fed on by the sago.
Oh my god.
Is the tree ring, a more terrestrial organism that feeds by piercing the trunks of bone trees. The pitcher duck is a fascinating member of this group, having a very
Do you think we
specialized
should
lifestyle.
move on,
The
Ace?
middle two limb pairs have been
Or
exactly
Eli?
holding pits, while its central proboscis mimics the celestified
I don't know. I don't know. I don't really have much. I don't have much left in the way of discussion. I just thought we'd pull up a video. You know.
Yeah, and you actually did a good choice because we're actually enjoying the video. So we might as well round out the episode with this video, I guess.
There's also a radiation of larger predatory
Yeah.
which today
Only, it's now
and
10 minutes.
Orapatorum is a that behaves in a very similar way to the modern crocodilians of Earth, while the giant Christoceratops is more terrestrial, running down its prey across forested floodplains. Polyraptoria is next, another clade which has retained much of the exoskeleton in most species.
Although I can't
Related
remember
Osteoraptoridae
that I have to speak to the computer.
are some examples of this species group, both of which are eight-limbed, heavily armored organisms. However, while Polystomatotherium uses its proboscises and extra appendages, which are likely homologous with the proboscises, to dig around in soil for prey, or steals the kills of other smaller aliens, members of Osteoraptoridae, typified by Osteoraptor giganteus, have adapted their front limb pairs into effective scraping structures used to break bits of bone from bone trees. Other polyraptorians include the very closely related Stratopodiraepalius and Inoculum nocticursor. Both these organisms have fused the posteriormost limb pair into a cartilaginous tail to help with balance. Both species also have a large joined single compound eye, and it's these features that hint at an ancient relationship between the two taxa. However, in the time since their divergence, these creatures have adapted to very different lifestyles, with the Stratopodi feeding between the high tops of bone trees and other celestophytes in large herds, while the much smaller Inoculum are semi-nocturnal generalists that inhabit the dense forests of Opidentis. Terrarus is another interesting polyraptorian, being more derived than the others we've looked at. This taxon is a predator that's adapted for life in mountainous and volcanic regions, burrowing into the ground to disguise
Holy
itself
cow.
as rocks.
VFX.
Only retains 3 limbs
An alien.
with a particularly unique walking style, in addition to being a powerful leader. This brings us next to Oscanida, the small taxon of the family Wallachicanidae, containing the red-bellied venatus. Both taxa retain bony exoskeletal armor, and both taxa have reduced the posteriormost limb pair. In the bone dog, these limbs are just vestigial relics. However, in Dorionyx, they're utilized in... Interestingly, Dorionyx possesses a mane of filaments which seem to be homologous, not convergent, to the suggesting that this feature is still able to reappear in derived animals. Perhaps an example of an atavism, or evolutionary throwback to an ancestral condition. Soli Orgaria is another fairly small which includes the family Proboscis acutidae, a small jungle living taxon. The sunny, a deep neck, hydrothermal, then as thick cares the end. The pieces are used in all species of organic mass, sharp and more round, as to grind down foods is the Oromolar, which includes a creature known as the plain mower. Like thorax, it's fairly heavy armored and has its 4 limb pairs. However, the rib incredibly easy way to the donts retract mates, feed on, and even lay their eggs at their unique behavior, burying themselves in the marshes and swamps of course too, for this ridden ice dogs and using a vent unsuspected prey. In a slightly is the Doryglossa species known as the antispoof, Doryglossa novispava, land media insula, using a deadly spear-like proboscis to However, an ulcer from the bony exoskeleton. The primary function of the structure is to seize from damage, and also as a display feature. The sister taxon to this organism is a beast known as the Great Forest Devourer, which possesses homologous jaws that perform the function of crushing through the tough trunks of bone trees. These massive ambulospeculates are remarkable for their capability of devouring the entirety of the trees, from the softer photosynthetic organs of the canopies to the entire trunk and root system. Moving now to the other, much smaller main radiation of ambulospeculates, we come first to Myodorsi. The most basal member of this clade is an organism commonly known as the lumber cat, Xenobovine keratocranius. This species has reduced its bony exoskeleton over most of its body, something seen in many more derived members of Myodorsi, only retaining exoskeleton plates over the head, and possessing an internal skeleton composed mostly of bone. These beasts will often push over large bone trees on the edges of forests by rearing onto their back four legs, before then consuming the photosynthetic organs that grow at the tops of the tree.
Great protection and great low rates you want?
Ad!
Click for a great auto rate today.
Yeah, there's an ad. And another one.
Another ad.
It's only paid that comes in an award-winning
Don't we all just hate ads?
An interesting branch of Myodorsi
That's why I have ad block.
Yep.
And Loricarum eversus simia. Though fairly closely related,
You should have known this was going to happen because, well, I mean, I was streaming this, so...
Ooh.
Yep.
Also feeding from the high tops of bone trees, the much smaller Loricarum eversus and islands
And Andrew's message coming in.
Oh, I didn't expect it to actually. I didn't expect that to actually be a notification.
And I didn't expect it to pop up, you know, during while we're live. So are we still continuing this?
Are we? I don't know.
I figured we might as
No, maybe
well,
this is
since
21 minutes.
since I didn't really have much to this. I didn't really have much in the way of discussion.
Yeah. I mean, we already have almost an hour of content, so we might as well just finish the video, or if not finish the video, we can end it at a good place, like whenever we're just bored. And then we'll end the episode there. This is a pretty nice one.
Yep. I mean, I just hope it's going good, you know.
It is.
I mean, especially since I was running out of things to say about aliens, and Andrew didn't have that much to say, and thus, you know, he had this video to share.
Ooh.
So, there you go.
Is Myopeltida, a clade of myodorsans that are notable for some of their very mammal-like features. Also reappears from the ancestral bony exoskeleton, and notably have modified the second limb pair into a pouch, present in both males and
One kind of looks like a mammoth.
transporting eggs and
Mm-hmm.
These side proboscises,
Yeah.
which are now
If that's the
distinct
one,
possess
like,
small
you're...
fangs that can inject
And this one almost looks like an anteater. Or armadillo.
Mm-hmm.
From an ankle, like it looked, one of them looks like a mammoth. So yeah, even though I can't hear the audio, Hope you get much. Is that
Then, in the end, up. Like, with the easy knowing what food from Celeste to see fuzzy any spirit or event and trip communication relationship with this will keep you shape
All right. Eli's out, I guess. Or maybe not. So I think we should end the episode here.
you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we already have almost an hour of stuff. So yeah. So that was our episode about aliens. Next time on SmackDown, it's about robots. You know that already. For Raw, it might be a little weird since I figured out how to fix the issues with the screen sharing in a Vulgar Windows VM, and it'll be pretty weird. I mean, maybe we'll play it safe with Chatbox, or maybe M-Page will do another game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll figure it out by then. So, since New Year's Evolution was canceled, we're actually gonna be doing another stream. And we're gonna do a stream, but you can now look forward to this as the real first stream of 2022. Jackbox/Royal Rumble. I don't know whether Tonyo changed the title yet. So, Jackbox/Royal Rumble, January 29th.
Yes.
Alrighty,
so now that you know what to look forward to,
Yes.